What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Another episode of the Sideline Brief podcast. On episode 211, we got a recap, or not a recap, but preview our NFL Championship weekend. AFC and NFC Championship games are happening this weekend, and we will let you know who we think is going to win. Plus, we got UFC 324. First, I guess, paid night. I don't know. You can call them pay-per-views anymore. The first Paramount Plus big event of the year. 324. So we'll preview some of the main card fights and some fights that you should be on the lookout for. And then we got some updates on some NFL coaching jobs. We'll update you guys on those. So all that being said, stay tuned. I guess let's start in the AFC Championship game. Going to be in Mile High, the number 1 seed versus the number 2 seed, the Pats. But the Broncos got a huge dilemma. Their starting quarterback won't be participating in this one. They're going with Stidham, who I think only had a couple of snaps this year and some basically mop-up duty time. So who wants to kick this one off first? Lawrence, Jacob, who you got?
Well, okay, so I guess I'll go, but for some reason, Stidham's been passed around the league like a lot of people like him. I mean, he was Bill Belichick's, I wouldn't say boy, but Bill Belichick's fear for the future, or at least he was supposed to be. But, you know, he was under Brady for a while. And then Sean Payton has always liked Stidham and kept Stidham around. But they did sign Ben DiNucci as the backup to Stidham. So could see a little Ben DiNucci action. I don't know how much it moves the needle or not that Stidham is in there rather than somebody else. But honestly, the Broncos literally just have to play like a perfectly defensive game in order to even have a chance. I mean, they're talking about Stidham scoring 17 to 21 and hoping that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're also hoping that's going to be enough in the Super Bowl as well. As I don't know. Against that Seattle defense, I don't see him scoring a bunch in case that's who they play in the Super Bowl. And also the Patriots defense. Yeah, I mean, you got to also think about the Patriots defense in a way. They went turnover for turnover with C.J. Stroud. I mean, C.J. Stroud, gave up five turnovers himself. I'm pretty sure Drake May provided Texans with 4 turnovers. So, I mean, the Patriots defense did their thing too to cause turnovers. So now the Broncos kind of had to play turnover-free football. Somehow provide a defensive front that can get to the quarterback, make May uncomfortable, which they've done all season, but then have the secondary not bleed out because of it.
Cool. Jacob, your thoughts on this AFC Championship game? Who you got?
I got a couple thoughts, and I don't want to sound bitter as my Bills lost in heartbreaking fashion. We got to change rules or get different cameras or different refs or something, but that's neither here nor there. I think this game, truly and honestly, is probably one of the worst AFC Championship games we've had in a long time, because you're looking at a team that lost its starting quarterback, is putting in a guy that hasn't played basically at all this year, didn't play at all last year. I feel bad for Bo Nix. It's awful for him, awful for the team and the fans, but it's the New England Patriots year of the luck. You know, I can argue that they got a Chargers team without their 2 starting tackles and bulldozed them, and they got a Texans team with no Nico Collins, and C.J. Stroud obviously helped with 5 picks. And then they get the Broncos with no Bo Nix. Like, how can we make it easy for the Patriots? That's the script this year for the NFL is let's figure out, give them the easiest path possible. I'd love to be wrong. I think they stomp them. I think the Patriots offense they've been struggling the last couple of games. They're not going to struggle. The Bills put up 30 easily with all the turnovers that the Bills had on this Denver defense that's supposed to be so good. I think the Patriots go in there, and unfortunately, they will be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go against you guys. I think you lose your starting quarterback, and he was balling, during the playoffs, and you putting in a guy who hasn't had any meaningful snaps in a while. Although hey, Bill Belichick, but that was his guy to replace Brady, didn't work out, and supposedly he's highly regarded in the league. I just don't think without any meaningful snaps this year that he can come in and make magic work, especially it's a do or die game. I don't really foresee that happening. It would take a lights out Broncos defense, causing havoc against Drake May. He would have to have the same level of turnovers, and the Broncos offense would have to capitalize on pretty much all of them. And I just don't see that happening in this one. So give me the Pats as well. It's the year of the Patriots. I think with one of the easiest schedules in like 30 to 40 years in the NFL, coupled with just going through some of these teams who have had a lot of injuries themselves, and they're a relatively healthy team. Patriots are. So I think it's just a nice little string of luck here that's keeping them afloat, and they'll get back to their hopefully get back to their first Super Bowl, and since Tom Brady left. So I know the Pats fans out there will be chirping and talking all kinds of smack, but it's just how it's going to be probably.
And that's what's annoying is those fans, the Boston fans of all fans, after all that 20-year run of dominance. Brady's been gone for 5-6 years, and they're already back. It's like, I don't know, as a Bills fan that had to suffer for my early childhood, it's like as soon as Brady left, I was hoping that they'd be gone for 20 years just to kind of even the playing field. But nope, here they are back and probably headed to another Super Bowl.
Yeah, you hate to see it. The second game should be way more intense, way more drama in this one. The Seahawks-Rams, round 3. They both, split the season series 1-1. Both off of, I think, both wins are coming off 2 points or less. The Seahawks winning in overtime, and then the Rams won, I believe, one of the matchups because the Seahawks missed a 61-yarder that could have won them that one. So a lot of drama in these games. Division rivals, they know each other very well. Both teams are relatively healthy, although Darnold has I guess his abdomen somewhat bothered him, but didn't stop him from kind of cooking the 49ers last week. So Jacob, I'll start with you first on this one. Who do you have in this the NFC Championship game?
See, I think this game is so fascinating and so many different levels. I was just looking back just to make sure I was correct. Sam Darnold has thrown 6 of his interceptions in the 2 games against the Rams this season. Because obviously, I think the national, kind of what the media is putting out there is if Sam Darnold doesn't lose this game, Seattle's going to win this game. And I kind of see that. I mean, if Sam Darnold throws 3 picks, I don't think anybody's going to, think they're going to win. But I will say that first game, he threw 4 interceptions, and they still were a missed field goal away from winning. Now, in that second game, the weird game, I think it was a Thursday or Monday night game with the, the big comeback, the weird lateral that ended up being a touchdown. Matthew Stafford threw for 450 yards against these boys. And I know everyone knows they have a good defense. But I think Matthew Stafford, Puka went for 225 and 2 touchdowns that game as well. So I really just think this game is going to be one of those true heavyweight on heavyweight. I personally think these are the best 2 teams in the NFC, and very differently than the AFC game. I think this game is going to be awesome, and the team that wins this game will definitely deserve its spot in the Super Bowl. And I feel kind of weird saying I have no idea. It really just comes down to it, but just based on what I've seen in the past and what I think is going to happen, I got to go with the Rams. I got to trust Stafford because I've seen him do it. I'd be so happy for Sam Darnold. I'd be so happy for the 12s out there in Seattle if they were able to do it. But just going based on what I know, and I trust Stafford in a big game a little bit more than Sam Darnold. So I'll take the Rams, but very, very excited for this game. This game could be a shootout. This game could be low scoring. This game could have turnovers. It could have anything, and I'm jacked up for it.
Cool, Lawrence. Who do you have in this one?
Well. If I was to really say, I would probably go the Rams. My only issue with the Rams pick, however, would honestly be their special teams. And if we remember the second game, that's kind of how they made their comeback. was the fact that Rashid Shaheed took one to the house for like 90 plus yards.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, and we just watched this man do the same exact thing to the 49ers. And they're not supposed to have any kind of like crappy special teams or anything. And now I know they're beating the high hell and stuff, but when they say that games are really close and it's like picking at needles in a haystack of who's got the edge over the other. Like the Rams have no amazing shutdown defense. I think they allowed very minimal points because the Bears were doing very much bear-like things in that game. But if we watch the Panthers game, I mean, the Panthers put up 31 on them. So very well, the Seahawks can put 31 up on them. And if you're telling me that it's coming down to a close moment at the end of the game and we're talking about a one-possession game and it's all about who's going to have the ball last, and then the Rams score with 2 minutes left, and you're telling me that special teams has to stop Rashid Shaheed, who's pretty much playing, I would say, the best football you can play after being traded halfway through the season, when your most valuable role is punt returning and kick returning. I think I'd probably take Shaheed to get 40, 30 plus yards and give Darnold 15 plus yards to kick a field goal, that kind of situation.
Yeah, I want to say Rams and agree with you both, but just something about the Seahawks team. The defense is just, I mean, it's outstanding. It's one of the best defenses I've seen in a while, honestly. And, Darnold didn't look too bad against the 49ers defense. Now, that defense is very decimated, but still, it feels like the abdomen isn't that big of an issue. And then with another week to heal, maybe he can be a little bit more mobile, a little bit more risky with some of his throws. So I might just go against the grain on this one. Like I want to go the Rams, but I have a sneaky suspicion that the Seahawks is just, the defense will really ramp it up. The 12th man and, Lumen Field will really help the Seattle overcome the Rams in this one. Even though I would love to see Stafford win another Super Bowl, but so just something about Seattle. They just have a little like magic, and McDonald, great head coach, great hire by Seattle. I don't know. It's just as long as Sam Darnold doesn't fuck this one up. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? Like he just can't turn the ball over, and he did a pretty good job against 49ers in not doing that. And like Lawrence said, like if Shaheed can just give you some special team yardage and keep the some short field, so Darnold doesn't have to do too much, put too much on his plate. I feel like the Seahawks have a really favorable path to win this one, honestly.
Let me ask you guys a question, like hypothetical question. We're talking the Rams just scored with 1:30 seconds left of the game to go up by 4 points. Rams kick it off. Shaheed returns it to the 40. So you need Sam Darnold to go 60 yards, get a touchdown in 1:30 with no timeouts. You trust him to do it?
I would only say yes because I've seen pretty much Bryce Young. I wouldn't say cook these Rams, but I'm not trying to shit on Bryce Young or anything. But if Bryce can cook the Rams secondary, and Emmanuel Forbes, as much as we want to roast that guy for being bad, I'm pretty sure I watched that man get hurt the last game for the Rams. So you're telling me there's someone even worse than him that's going to be filling in? I will take Sam Darnold just chucking one up to JSN and somehow being able to catch it and just pretty much run the clock out at that point. Because if Emmanuel Forbes was your best shot at secondary and he got hurt, who's going to be making sure Jackson Smith and Jizba is going to stay cool?
Yeah, I agree. I think that this secondary is really cooked. They pretty much only have Curl is their best, DB or safety. So I mean, just throw it on the opposite side of the field Curl is on, and then you have a good chance of marching it down the field. So I'm with Lawrence on this one. I actually do trust Darnold.
Okay, good. I'm happy to hear it. I personally think for Sam Darnold's sake, that's the situation I want. I want him to have the ball with a chance to win because that will change the narrative of him.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I agree. I assume we're in agreement. If that same situation happened with Stafford, 1:30 to win the game, he's going to go win the game. So I'm interested to see how if it comes to that, and if the quarterback that gets that opportunity is able to capitalize on it.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, this will be the better of the two games for sure. I have a great feeling on that one. Now up with some head coaching updates. I guess the first update we gotta talk about your Bills. Jacob had to let go of Sean McDermott. Let him go right after the game. The GM, the owner, kind of threw him under the bus along with Keon Coleman. They both ran over. In the little, I guess, press brief, what was it, yesterday or 2 days ago? You're the resident Bills fan. We'll let you start off on this. Like, how do you feel about McDermott being fired? And, who do you think will be a great replacement? Word on the street is Dayball is preferred target.
Yeah, this is not one of the perks of being the resident Bills person. I was hoping we could be talking about the Bills going to the first Super Bowl, but here we are. You have a really good thing, and then they kind of went and, threw it away. The McDermott thing's really tricky because I kind of was in agreement with you guys. Like, if we lost the game against Jacksonville, yeah, you probably got to can him there. But the Denver game was just so different, and I truly thought that we should have won the game, and obviously Josh didn't play very well. I think I'm in agreement with a lot of people just across, social media. Like, I think the roster was more of a problem with how the team performed. The wide receiver room was ridiculous. You're talking about Cole Hardman Jr. and Brandon Cooks in 2026. Like, come on, man. Like, you got one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and that's who he's throwing to in the division. It's a road game in the divisional round at the 1 seed. But no, it's McDermott's fault, of course, that I couldn't get him any wide receivers. Oh, what about this wide receiver, Keon Coleman, second-round pick, Florida State? Well, I didn't. I actually didn't want to pick him. He did. The guy we fired did. I think it's BS, man. It's BS. It's a terrible look for the organization. It makes Pagula look bad. It makes Beam look bad. And, it's tough, man, because more than anything, like, I'm sure some people might remember, like, the Bills were in the longest professional sports drought of all time. From 1999 to 2017, they didn't make the playoffs. And I just happened to be born in 1999. So literally from age 0 until I was 17 years old, they had been in the playoffs. And McDermott, his very first year with the team, led the team into the playoffs. So I think it's sad for a lot of reasons, but I think more than anything, like, all of Buffalo owes him, a ton of love and support for all the good things that he did with this team. Obviously we didn't get the ultimate goal done, but hopefully the next guy will. I'm hearing a lot of Brian Daboll. I don't love it nor hate it. I think that he's an okay coach. Clearly it didn't work in New York Giants. Obviously he was kind of set in a situation where I don't think anybody would have really been successful in the situation he was in. But at the same time, if it's what Josh Allen wants, we might be at that point where it's like, if Josh Allen wants it, then we got to do it. I also think it's kind of silly because this is 2 weeks outside of the regular season, so all the best candidates are already hired. So shouldn't that have been something that, I don't know, I think that they kind of botched the situation, throwing players under the bus, throwing people under the bus. I mean, you never want to do that. And in that press conference, they're talking about a power struggle. And it's like, whenever there's a power struggle, the people that don't get fired are the ones that won the power struggle. So they're using what they won as a negative thing for the person they got rid of. When, to me personally, it doesn't make any sense, because basically you're saying I don't want a power struggle. You're just saying that you won the power struggle and you got rid of the guy that was coming after you, which I just think is ridiculous. But I don't know. I'm not happy. I'm kind of upset. But, maybe if the next coach wins the Super Bowl, I can look back on this and laugh and smile. But I think it was a tough couple of days for Buffalo there.
Yeah, it must be tough being a Bills fan nowadays. Lawrence, do you have any thoughts about McDermott firing and who might potentially replace?
I mean, I just think it's hilarious that they threw Keon Coleman under the bus, because at this point you kind of had to trade Keon because he ain't going to play for that.
Can't keep him.
Can't keep him.
Yeah. You're going to have to trade him. But if you look at Keon Coleman's numbers, I mean, you can say, like, maybe the being late to practice and other things that he was doing were the problem. But if you look at his numbers statistically, like, the man only really got beat by Ladd McConkey in terms of, like, receiving, like, from his draft class. he really only got beat by Ladd McConkey. And like, okay, Ladd McConkey's like
Neighbors was hurt. Neighbors was hurt too.
yeah, but it's still at the end of the day, his competitions that he's immediately going against. Okay, Xavier Get. He was better than Xavier Leggett. He was better than him. Xavier Worthy. He was better than Worthy. And now was Worthy in and out of the lineup hurt? Yeah, but he was also better than Worthy. I mean, Worthy had plenty of time and he scored 1 touchdown the whole season. Worthy didn't play worth a damn either. So it's like you're going to say the guy was piss poor poopy, and you may well say that because you expect more of where you drafted him. But like everyone else in his draft class is also like not putting up 1,000+ yards like Tedero McMillan. Like Ladd McConkey had 791 yards. Get over it. He's a second-year wide receiver. Yeah, you probably wish he grew up a little bit more, outside the field, but maybe some players take a little longer. He did make you guys all smile when he got there, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the great quarterbacks, right? Josh, Mahomes, Lamar, Joe, whoever else you want to throw in there, I think they all deserve great head coaches. So I was always on the fence about McDermott. I thought he was a good head coach, not a great one.
Yeah.
So, that's my motto with the great quarterbacks. There's only a couple of great quarterbacks, so you just got to pair him with a great head coach. And sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. I think, the 5-year rule was very true. I think, in the first 5 years, you don't win one with your quarterback. You got to switch out the coaches. I think that's a very, very real thing.
Yep. And I'll say one more thing, too, about Coleman and McDermott. Who was the one that disciplined him when he was late to meetings? Who was the one that got on him and sat him? It was McDermott. So if that was McDermott's boy that he drafted and convinced the general manager of the team whose job it is to draft and build the roster, if he convinced him to take that player and to discipline him as hard as he did, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, if he truly did, he would have gone to bat for him a little more, and McDermott was very hard on him, as he should have been. So, yeah, the whole thing just kind of stinks a pile of shit, but you know what? It is what it is.
100% agree with you on that one. The first hiring, the most sought-out coach, I feel like, in this cycle, John Harbaugh. He is with the New York Giants now. I think 5 years, $100 million, I believe, is his deal. Homeboy is getting paid, and he's reporting straight to the owner. So he said, damn a GM. I answer to the big boss. So I feel like this was probably the best move for him. I feel like the Giants have a lot of talent. He'll have a long leash. He won't be expected to produce for a while, probably, a season or two. So any other job, I feel like outside the Titans, he would have been expected to immediately, win, and I feel like he doesn't want to have that pressure on him after just having to coach Lamar. And, that's the pressure every year. He probably wants to take it easy for a year or two. So while still having the opportunity to, be a great team down the road. Lawrence, how you feel about this hire?
I will say that I thought it was pretty reactive. Like, it was so quick in which they did it. It's like the Giants, they brought him in for an interview and just said, oh, great, well, I can't let you leave and go somewhere else. So we're just going to hire you on the spot.
Yep.
I mean, man was retired, wouldn't say retired, but the man didn't have a job for all of 4 days. I don't know. I think it's a good move for the Giants. I think that the crowd that he got, the players that came to watch him, I don't know, take his little presser. I thought it was the fact that it was a good amount of defensive guys. I think the defense of the Ravens in the last couple years, the Giants for the last couple years has been slacking. And I also believe that the Ravens defense has also been slacking. But if there's one thing that John Harbaugh knows how to make is a good special teams unit and a defense. So immediate revival of the defense over there in New York. I also think there's going to be possible shifting of, I would say, pieces in New York. And when I say that, the Brian Burns, okay, you gave him all that money, but in reality, I don't know if it's really paying out for what you're getting out of him. So now you could be in the realm of trying to move him and trade him and get a little bit, I wouldn't say value back, because you lose. You're gonna have to you're gonna get maybe a 3rd round draft pick. You're not getting anything crazy. But I think it's more so about the money you'll move off of. And I think that's what the Giants are going to start with first. And based on your recent draft history, you kind of would hope that some of the guys you've been bringing in and the guys that I think a Harbaugh-like guy will bring in will allow you to move off a guy like that. And then immediately, I would just say immediate have like a roster influx. Like, I know Harbaugh knows he can't come in here and immediately win with this O-line. Like, he has no shot. But if he sells Brian Burns, gets off that $30 million that he has on one defensive guy, you could pretty much rework an entire O-line with $30 million. I mean, you can at least get 3 fucking guys. And then, boom. And now Scatterboo is not, getting punch drunk by week 2. Now you at least can move it back to week 5. Maybe now Dart doesn't have to run for his life every other play. Now he can actually take some time in the pocket and then choose to run if he would like.
Hey, these are some good points. Jacob, how do you feel about this hiring?
It's kind of funny. I had a whole different perspective until Lawrence brought up Brian Burns. And I was like, Brian Burns, wasn't he second in the league in sacks? Yeah, he had 16.5 sacks this year. So I agree the money is not ideal, but like as a Bills fan and as a team that needs a pass rusher, like I'll take a Brian Burns for a second, third round pick because we can make the money work. So that's just immediately where my mind went. In terms of Harbaugh to the Giants, I love it. I think that was probably the best case scenario for him. And Markel, you hit the nail on the head because it gives him time. He doesn't have the 1 or 2 years where he has to win. And also, I'll even come back with they have a franchise quarterback. They have a good running back. They have an all-pro potential wide receiver. They have a legit top 5 tackle. They have a top 3 defensive end. They have a high-paid defensive end in Brian Burns. Like, this is a team that's underperformed. And again, this goes back to Dayball. And it's like, I don't know the situation, but there was a lot of talent on that Giants team. And granted, they did have Russell Wilson start, the first however many games. And they never were in a good situation to succeed. But the team has a ton of talent. And I'm sure Harbaugh can kind of go in there because he has that CEO type of mentality of like, he's not an offensive or defensive. Technically, he is a special teams coach at heart. So I really do think he can kind of just slowly improve all his players and kind of get the most out of all of them. Granted, that didn't happen in Baltimore this past year, but we all kind of think that he's a great coach and we believe in his, coaching resume. And I think that this is a perfect opportunity for him and the Giants. Like, I don't think there's a loser here. Obviously, once they start playing games, we can come back on this, but I think this is a really good situation for both he and the Giants, and good for him.
Next hire, I believe, was Stefanski to the Falcons. I feel like this is a perfect fit. The Falcons, I feel like they're a pretty well-balanced team. Probably leaning more offense with, just Pitts and Bijan and, you got Drake London and all those guys, decent offensive line. So I feel like a great fit. Stefanski taking over for Raheem Morris, who's still looking for a job. How do you guys feel? I'll start with you, Jacob, first in this one.
This is another one that I really, really, really like. I think Stefanski was a good coach that had some unfortunate situations down there in Cleveland. I think Atlanta's a little bit different. This is why Harbaugh didn't want to go to Atlanta, I think, because Atlanta's in the we got to win now. Obviously, the quarterback situation is a question mark. I think Stefanski is in a really good position to kind of take this over. And also, let's not doubt that this is probably the most winnable division in the league. No offense, Lawrence, but like you win 8 games in this division, you got a chance to host a playoff game. So I think it makes sense. I think Kyle Pitts is a free agent, and also I've seen him going to the Bengals a lot. So that's something we can talk about, in the coming months of free agency. But if they end up retaining him, like you said, they got Drake London, they got Bijan, who is probably a top 2 running back in the league right now if he's not number 1.
Yep.
A lot of firepower there. Got to figure out the quarterback, whether that's Penix or Cousins or a third-party guy like Malik Willis. Very attractive job. I think Stefanski's in a good spot, and I also love the fact that Baker immediately was like, "Oh yeah, this guy, this guy's never called me since he got rid of me, and I get to see him twice a year. Let's go." Love that. We need more. We've talked about it. We need more beefs and rivalries and bad blood in the NFL, and here for it.
For sure. Lawrence, this is in your neck of the woods in the NFC South. How do you feel? Do you feel confident in Stefanski's ability?
I kind of will say no. I if I'm Stefanski, right, I think it was probably one of the worst drops he could have taken.
Oh.
Being in the fact that he just came from a spot in which he didn't like the quarterback. When he was put in there, he obviously didn't take on the Baker. And then instead of, maybe he didn't like Baker, so he was like, okay, well, I want some other kind of quarterback. So he got Deshaun Watson. Like, the man didn't like Deshaun Watson. So, he had to have a scramble pile of just crap. I mean, Dylan Gabriel. Was it Daniel Gabriel? I mean, Dylan Gabriel might be a WWE fighter. I can't remember. But at this point, I don't remember what quarterback played for the Browns this season. I think there was about 6 or 7. And then you're going to go to the Falcons, in which you got that fat Kirk Cousins contract that you hope that you can restructure. But from Kirk, why am I restructuring that? You're the one who signed me just so you could hire some young buck who just tore his ACL again after tearing it in college. Like that one's probably I would say at this point in time, looking back, a horrible decision. Maybe we got a couple good seasons out of Penix, but you knew he had injury problems, and then he kind of 2 years into his career kind of has that same bum knee problem. I don't know. Kind of this, and then you don't have any draft picks this year, so you're kind of starting with nothing and trying to build and build. And then you go into the division with your old quarterback that you just let go and you don't think he's going to have vengeance. And then you're talking about it's an easy division to win. I honestly think this makes it easier for Carolina and New Orleans because now you got beef with Baker and Atlanta. Now they're going to go at each other a little bit harder. Now they're going to circle each other on the calendar. So you're the week before them, you might get a little bit overlooked because, Baker's going to get his get. And I'm sorry, Carolina. If Stefanski's next weekend, I might have to skip this one because I got to get my get back. And, Carolina's sitting there, ugly stepchild. You've been beating around for the last couple of years. And nobody cares about what we're doing. So we're just kind of trying to, sneak through there. And I think this kind of sets it up for I think the Saints and the Panthers are about to take this division and, start playing around at the top for a couple of years. Just because I feel like structurally they're both kind of going in the right direction. The Falcons have just been floundering, just whatever you want to call it, for the last 2 seasons, 3 seasons. And at this point, until the coach for the Buccaneers leaves, that place is just a shit show. We saw his first time around with the Jets. His teams always looked undisciplined and had a lot of penalties. If you pay attention to this Buccaneers team, they always get a lot of penalties. And his only highlight is that he won on the glory years of Tom Brady with a stacked offensive lineup in which literally the only thing holding them back was the fact that Jameis Winston didn't have latex surgery or whatever, LASIK surgery on his eyes just to be able to see.
Cool. NFC South resident fan Lawrence on his takes on Stefanski. I like it. Next hire, I believe, was the Dolphins. They went ahead and got Jeff Haley, the DC from the Packers, I believe. Great hire. Dolphins feel like they want a trend defense. They really don't have one, to be honest. They let all their defensive players go, so this will be interesting. I'm assuming they're probably going to shop around their best offensive weapons. They already did for the trade deadline, but now you got to kind of shop around Tua, see who wants him, and then I believe Jaden Waddle is probably the next puzzle piece to be probably shopped around. Lawrence, how you feel about this one?
I don't know who he is, to be honest. So he's one of those guys that you wish good for because I don't know. I personally don't know really who he is. If you want me to, question it a little deeper, well, if he's such a good coordinator, then why did Jair Alexander want to leave so bad? And I'm not gonna lie, they kind of, I wouldn't say missed a bullet on that one, but he didn't play for shit the rest of the season for anybody he played with. I'm pretty sure he was with the Ravens for a while, was pretty bad, and I don't know where he went at that, but good for the Dolphins. I think that organization whoever was taking the job, I think, is also in a position of you got about 3 or 4 years before we're really going to get back on you again. Because at this point, like, you fire the GM, you brought a new coach. They're supposed to be in a tandem together, so you got to at least get them 2 years, 3 years together for anything to start forming. And then they don't have a quarterback, so you got to go into the year with knowing that you don't have the most important position in the entire league. Because at this point, Tua is one concussion pass being relevant and good.
Jacob, AFC South fan or AFC East fan, how do you feel about this hire?
Not really worried. Honestly, it just is what it is type thing. But
Yeah.
I did know him. It's funny how the NFL works. We hear like guys have momentum. I'm sure we'll get to it later, but like Jesse Minter was a name that I've heard had a lot of momentum. Just people in the league had confidence in him, whatever that means.
He's the
so
Ravens coach now.
Yeah, like he was a guy that I assumed was going to get a job. But going to Jeff Hatley, I think going through, like, if you look at the Packers at the very end of the Rodgers era into the start of the Jordan Love era, they had a really, really good offense consistently, and their defense was always one that let them down. I think there was like 2 years they just had like no linebackers that you can just name off any name, John Smith and whatever. Like they had no real respect on the defensive side of the ball. They hired him. Their defense kind of turned it around. The defense was kind of like upper middle of the pack. We're talking 10th through 15th. And then obviously this year they went out and got Micah Parsons.
Yep.
And then obviously the first half probably of the season, you can make the argument the Packers had the best defense in the league. Like they were legit. I was very much rooting against the Packers this year. But man, that defense with Parsons healthy was really, really good. Obviously you saw how they looked once Parsons got hurt. Definitely not as good. I don't think that's on the coach as much as it is, taking one of the best pass rushers off the team. But again, that being said, I'm sure he's a great dude. Hope he's a good leader. Miami's going to need it because now there's 2 teams in the AFC East that they got to worry about as opposed to just one. So I'm not worried about the Dolphins. They need a lot for me to worry about them. And probably it starts with getting rid of Tua because Tua has never been ever a thorn in my side. He's never once worried me. I think the Dolphins need a lot. I think if they do blow it up, then that'd probably be the best course of action. But you know how coaches and owners are about blowing it up. Nobody's patient nowadays. So that was a hire. I saw the notification and I was like, okay, sure. Still going to beat him next year, but good for him, I guess.
Another team that's going to need a lot, the Titans. They did find a new head coach, though. Got rid of Brian Callahan, my old Bengals OC. Got fired halfway through season. Here comes Robert Saleh, a deserving second chance at a head coaching opportunity after leaving the shit show Jets. How do you feel about this one? The Titans, they kind of need a lot, too, on both sides of the ball. Jacob, I'll go with you first.
Man, I love this hire. I think a lot of people saw Saleh in New York and just saw like I don't know what word works best. Just the unhappiness, just you could see the joy wiped off his face at all times. And then anytime you watch the San Francisco 49ers this year and you're like, oh yeah, where's Bosa? Oh, where's Fred Warner? They're all gone. They're all gone. They're all hurt or they left. And the Niners defense was pretty good, like considering all the injuries that they had. And you saw him on the sideline. Cameras love him. And he's always, pumping guys up. And you could literally see from the television screen that the man found his joy again. He probably went back to his place where he was before the Jets and reconnected with a lot of people, a lot of players, coaches, etc., and just kind of found that, like, oh, man, I love football thing again. I think the opportunity with the Titans is perfect because it's a similar situation in terms of they ain't got a lot of talent, but it's a completely different market, and it's in a place that I think knows they're in a rebuild. I don't think Titan fans are going to demand that they go to the playoffs next year, but I think similar to, a lot of other teams, it's not about the playoffs as much as it's growth. I think the Titans won 3 games this year, go win 6 next year. Let Cam Ward take that next step and show that, like, oh yeah, man, this guy might be a player in a couple of years. I think the biggest thing with this hire, though, I love Robert Saleh. Good luck. He's going to need it. The offensive coordinator needs to be a slam dunk. Whoever he hires as the OC needs to be a quarterback whisperer. I don't have any names, coming to mind. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury, just to randomly come up with one. But he needs to have an offensive coordinator that he can really kind of just say, hey, you and Cam Ward, you're going to be best friends, and his success is very dependent on you because he's a defensive guy. I don't expect him to change Cam Ward's career for the better. I expect him to appoint or hire the guy that's going to help Cam Ward get to that next level, which I have some confidence in.
Cool. Lawrence, any thoughts about Saleh being the head coach of the Titans?
No, I think Jacob hit it on the head about hiring the OC. That's going to be amazing. I think that's what Saleh did wrong with the Jets the first time. And I think he knows that. And, we can tell by his old pressers and stuff. I mean, there was one time he called out the O-line and said, man, are you guys going to, play in order to which we can win a game? Basically flat out called him out. So I think the one thing that he has that he didn't have in the Jets, well, I don't know, I wouldn't say that, but the Titans in every single game this year, at least some point in the game, they seemed scrappy and ready to duke it and fight it out, even though ultimately they knew at the final score they were going to get blown out. I mean, that's at best what you can say for the Titans. And honestly, that's probably what that's probably why he went there, was it's almost the complete opposite of what the Jets were. When he inherited the Jets, he got given an old, 40-year-old quarterback and told it's going to be the glory days of his career, and he's just going to ride on to the sunset. And this time around, he's got a young quarterback in which, all he can do is help him grow and get better, and he's not going to tear his Achilles in 4 games, knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood on that one. And the last hire, this was today, Jesse Minter to the Ravens. I think someone said it a little bit earlier. I love this hire, the Ravens. They pride themselves on defense. They've always spent money primarily on the defense. So why not go get another defensive guy? Worry about the OC later. They got to fix Lamar's contract. I think he has a $70+ million cap hit this year. So got to restructure or trade him if you're crazy. But I think the owner came out and said that they're going to restructure that. So no worries on that. But I love it. They definitely got to fix the defense. They got a lot of problems. I think I said last episode, their starting 2 corners are both allowing the most passing yards this season. So I think that's a good place to start right there. They need to be able to win fast because you got Lamar Jackson and you got a fan base that wants to win. So, Lawrence, I'll let you start this one first. How do you feel about this hire?
I find it interesting that they fired John Harbaugh, but then hired, I wouldn't say one of his proteges, but somebody who was in his coaching tree, because he started his career over in the Ravens. I think they said it was in 2016 or something. Mm-hmm. He got his first coaching gig with the Ravens. And then basically he's got the knowledge of 2 Harbaugh brothers. So maybe that was the good hire behind it. But, I mean, we saw the Chargers not really have any form of a defense, even though they had Staley, a couple years ago, who's supposed to be a defensive guy. Yep. But they had, 0 defense 2 years ago to having a respectable enough defense to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah. I like the hire. Jacob?
I mean, I think the Chargers defense was more than respectable. I think that they have a lot of guys, a lot of good players. I think Khalil Mack is 58 years old. He's still playing at a high level. Yep. Derwin James obviously is a beast. I mean, look at what they did to Drake May in that playoff game in which their offense couldn't do anything. They were really in that game until the very end once New England pulled away. I think, unfortunately for me, as the Bills and Ravens are kind of rivals just because of the 2 quarterbacks and how good the teams have been. It's an amazing hire for the Ravens. I don't like it because it's an amazing hire. I think culture-wise he fits. I think style-wise he fits. And I also do think it is kind of interesting, like you said, Lawrence, that he does have pedigree from both Harbaugh brothers, and when it's ironic that they just fired a Harbaugh brother, and it's this is the guy that's worked with both of them. So he's kind of picked up something from them. So it's interesting. I think it's a good fit. He's another one of those guys where you've heard his name. You don't know a ton about him. But more than anything, I kind of feel like he could be a Mike McDonald. Yeah, Mike McDonald type of guy where like, give him a year or two and like really see how this team will change. And that probably isn't a good thing for us Bills fans.
Last but not least, we got the UFC 324. I don't even know if we can call them pay-per-view anymore. Maybe we have to use the wrestling term PLE, Premium Live Events 324. I'll let you guys take this one away. You two are the UFC experts. Whatever you guys want to start with.
Yeah, so I love the UFC.com site because it's so easy to kind of look at and kind of go through. So, Lawrence, if you didn't have any prelims you wanted to talk about, we could start with some prelims. There's some numbered guys fighting, but now we could start right at the main card with Allen and Silva.
No, I'm down to get into the prelims. I mean, for instance, I would say my first prelim that I'm looking at that I think is interesting, and it's not it's starting from the bottom, I guess, up. It would be like Josh Hokett versus Denzel Freeman. What is it? The Marine versus the guy who can do everything. And then Denzel Freeman was in the WWE, didn't work out, and now he's in the UFC after being a Marine. And then I think it was like Josh Hokett, was a NFL player, Olympic wrestler, and amongst a bunch of other things. And I think Hoykett's like a super underdog at the same time.
Hoykett's minus 225.
No, minus 225. So he's the favorite, and Denzel's a small underdog. I mean, good odds. I think it's going to be a good fight overall.
Yeah, I like it too because, like you said, they're both they have prior experiences doing other things. The cool thing is they both fought once. They both made their debuts late last year. They both won their debuts. Hoykett got a knockout. Freeman won by decision. But this is a heavyweight fight, man. These guys throw bombs. I think this is one of those fights that you can definitely take the under in, and whichever guy walks out there standing is probably going to be the victor. So that's a fun fight. I do agree that there could be some early fireworks on these Paramount prelims.
Yep, and then I kind of liked Michael Johnson versus Alexander Hernandez, but I don't know. Michael Johnson, the fact that he's just now started playing, or I wouldn't say playing, but fighting his best fights at 39 is a little deflating because I honestly, like, he's won 4 of the last 5. He's looked crazy good. He's beaten some tough guys. Alexander Hernandez is supposed to be coming in here, sweeping our feet up and, start putting his name towards the UFC lightweight division. But, like, that's a pretty good stallweight you have to get through first.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnson just beat. I just had it. Daniel Zellhuber was like minus, I think, 900 when that fight started. So Michael Johnson's kind of that perfect guy where it's like, give him an up and comer and he'll give him a test. So that fight, the odds are almost split on that. I think that's a good fight just because both guys takes a lot to get him out of there. I can see this one going to the decision for sure. But yeah, 39 or not, you can't count out Michael Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from this point on, we can just keep going up. Outside of the two after the next, those guys I'm not the most familiar with, but I mean, Alex Perez versus Charles Johnson, and the fact that this one is like as low as it is on a prelim is good. Shows how good the card is. Let's just say that. The fact that this one is so low on the prelim. But like Alex Perez has fought pretty much all the best guys in the flyweight division. He's kind of, had injury problems and I would say floundered the last couple years, but he's not lost to anyone who's, I would say, not top 10 material. Whereas I wouldn't say we're still trying to find what the most we can get from Charles Johnson, but we kind of thought I would have thought, taken the UFC by a little bit more of a storm. If he was gonna, I would say that by now.
Yeah, wait till you see his hair, Markel. He has one of the most ridiculous haircuts I think I've ever seen. Charles Energy Johnson is one of very few people to have beaten the flyweight champion of the world, my guy Joshua Van. I think that was either early 25 or late 24. Josh Van was riding a big win streak, and Charles Johnson stopped him. And I think that was kind of one of those instances of the old dog fighting the young dog. And yeah, man, I think that's a good fight. Like you said, Perez is respectable. I do think I can tell you why this card is ranked so low. It's not because of the rankings between these guys' names. It's the flyweights. Dana hates flyweights. He's always hated flyweights. But like we said, it doesn't take away from the fact that these are two, top 15 fighters in their respective division, and both guys are gonna, put it all out there. So I'm excited for that fight too. Then moving forward, we got Nikita Krylov and Bukauskas, which should be another firework fight. I'm looking at the odds; that looks basically split. So, what do you like in that fight?
Like you said earlier, these are two light heavyweights that are going to fight like heavyweights almost. I mean, I probably would just take Nika. I would say probably because I've seen more, I would say, of his fights, probably just because of his record being so long. But, I mean, honestly, this is just going to go whoever's still standing after the punches are thrown.
Yeah, I could see that too. Krylov's coming off 2 straight knockouts, and Bukauskas is definitely he's definitely a Bukaki fighter. He's got a at least 3-fight winning streak. He's got a 4-fight winning streak with 3 finishes. I think this is a very interesting fight. It's kind of like a younger guy trying to break into the rankings. Krylov's been in the rankings since I even started watching the sport, so he's been around for a long time. I like the young guy here. I like Bukauskas to punch his way into the top 15.
We got an upset.
What's that?
Is he the favorite? Is he the?
He's the slight favorite. He's minus 130.
Favorite,
yeah. And then the next fight, you got Gauthier, who's an absolute power puncher, fighting a guy from Russia. I'm not even gonna try. I'll probably stick. I don't know. I'm not familiar with him. I'll stick with Gauthier because that dude can throw bombs. So I'll probably just go for a probably early stoppage for Gauthier there.
Hasn't he won all of his fights by first round knockout, or almost all of them?
Let's see here. The last 3, at least. Yeah. Oh, he's been 3 fights in the UFC, all 3 first round knockouts. Yep.
Yes. That man is the real deal. I wouldn't step in the ring with him for sure.
No,
I'd be scared.
Next up, you got Umar versus Davidson, former champion of the flyweight division, Figueiredo. Odds that I'm looking at are minus 1,400 to plus 800. What are your reads here, Lawrence?
I mean, I agree that he should be like an underdog, but like, I don't know, putting Figueiredo at like any point in time at a plus 800 or more, regardless of I think he's going to win or not, I'm taking it. Like, I'm taking that odds just because, like, okay, I put $5 on it. I don't give a fuck if I lose $5, but if you tell me that he's about to make me $40 on just one single punch that just gets Umar the right way, or let's face it, Umar breaks his hand like he did the last time against wasn't it Shakov? And then not being able to like, get his way out of the fight. I mean, he fought a good fight, but last time this man was out, he did break his hand. So
yeah, I'm gonna go Umar by however he wants. I like Figueiredo. He's been in the game a long time. This is punching way above his class, I think. Umar is probably the best opponent for the champion, Peter Yan. So definitely keep your eyes out. I think when this year ends, Umar Nurmagomedov will be your bantamweight champion of the world.
And now we got the main event, the main card.
Main card. What do you think? We'll start off with Arnold Allen, who is looks like a pretty 2-1 underdog against Jean Silva, the guy that famously barks at his opponents in the ring.
I think I'm going to take Allen. I don't know. I'm just not that big of a fan of Silva. I don't know. I would say when he first got started, the ball rolling in the UFC, I kind of thought he was like a fraud. I wouldn't say fraudulent, but like I don't know. He always gave off like trying to be tough, yet not actually like naturally just having like a tough, I would say, persona. Um, Honestly, also because his name low key kind of sounds French, John Silva. I know he's Brazilian, but anytime I hear any kind of Frenchiness, I'm gonna go against it.
That's crazy. I will say, man, I like Arnold Allen a lot. He doesn't fight very often. I know he's had injuries, but when it comes to Jean Silva, one of the fighting nerds took the UFC by storm, a couple years ago. Silva's career started in January of 2024. I'll just run through it. He had a knockout, and then his next fight, knockout, and then knockout, Drew Dober right there. Another knockout. Then he faced Bryce Mitchell. Tough test. Bryce Mitchell is a submission guy. Yeah, Silva subbed out Bryce Mitchell. Got his hardest fight of his career, Diego Lopez, who in 2 weeks is fighting Alexander Volkanovski for, the featherweight championship of the world. He lost to Diego Lopez in a really fun firefight. Got caught with a spinning elbow. The Silva Cat is a personality. He is a potential superstar. I think I'm going to just take him because I want to be different. I like Arnold Allen a lot. I think the odds look better for Allen, just in terms of I think it's a closer fight than the odds say. But Jean Lord Silva is he's going to be a problem, and more than anything in a sport that needs it right now, very entertaining fighter. Definitely a little bit of a psychopath, and fans like me love that. So I'll take Jean Silva.
Okay. Well, I don't think we need to talk too much about the next one. Not trying to like shit on their parade or anything. We're a respectful group here. We're a respectful group.
Respect.
It's going to go to decision.
Yep.
I'm probably not going to pay attention to whose decision it goes to. Give me Silva just because I've seen Rose just look like pure dookie out there too many times.
Yeah, that's a very fair and probably the correct way to go. I will say too, kind of like your thing with Figueiredo. Anytime you see Rose as a plus 300 underdog, I'm probably gonna have to put a little bit on her, just because we're talking a two-time champion of the world. Natalia Silva is really good, but with some of these fights, it really can just come down at the end, especially if you're in the minds of thinking it's going to go to a decision, in which I assume we all are. I think that Rose at least has a punching chance, and with the odds the way they look, I'll sprinkle something on Rose. But Silva's a good fighter. She's a lot younger, and I heard in the lead up to this fight that the winner is going to get the champion. Winner of this fight gets Valentina Shevchenko. So think about that when you're deciding if you want to take a bathroom break or not. And then next up, I think we have probably one of the more fun fights of the night. Just two heavyweights, Derek Lewis, the Black Beast. I don't think if you don't know who Derek Lewis is, you need to learn, because this guy is national treasure. Waldo Cortez Acosta has been on a nice little run, and what do you guys think of this fight? Two big men going at it.
I never pick against Derek Lewis. I always pick Derek Lewis, even in shame. I still pick him.
As you should.
I mean, he easily can knock him out. My only issue with this is I feel like at his age, I feel like Waldo is just gonna, I wouldn't say run around him, but he's just gonna be running around a lot, and that's not what Derek Lewis wants to go. He wants to duke it out and fight a good fight with you. That's not what Waldo's gonna be going in here for. He knows that they just go there to duke it out and have a good brawl. He ain't coming out that winner.
Yeah, I think Waldo to win has to be smart, stay on the outside, kind of pick your shots. I think essentially his best path to victory is to frustrate Derek Lewis. Once Derek Lewis gets frustrated, he might, kind of come in and get caught. I think regardless of how this one fights out, it's gonna be fun, just because anytime you get Derek Lewis in a cage, it's always something fun. He's either getting knocked out or knocking somebody out. So I love Derek Lewis. I'll never say otherwise. I'm like you, Lawrence. I see plus 250. Hammer it. If he loses, that's fine. We're losers together. Going up to the next one. Former champion of the bantamweight division, Sugar Sean O'Malley, is coming back to face Song Yadong in a 3-round fight. This is the new co-main event. These guys got bumped up after Kayla versus Nunez got canceled earlier last week. So what are your guys' initial thoughts on the Sugar Show coming back?
I'm indifferent. I mean, I want to see him come out and, I wouldn't say school Yadong, but I don't know. Yadong's kind of always stayed at the bottom of the rankings, like, around like 8 to 10, maybe just a little past 10, in the bantamweight division, mainly because it's a slugfest right at the top. It's hard to move up in there. But like, if O'Malley doesn't come in there, and I wouldn't say put pressure and dominate him, but if he doesn't go in there and put pressure on Yadong and lets Yadong, like, charge at him and come at him, and he spends the whole time counterpunching, I kind of will be disappointed in this fight. I want to see O'Malley. I want to see Yadong just go crazy and just slug it and punch it out. But I kind of get the vibe that O'Malley is going to counterpunch a lot this fight because of the aggressive nature of Yadong.
I think that's going to be a good thing, though. I think Sean O'Malley, I think his fans, I think himself, this is a big test. This is hey, remind the world that you are who they wanted you to be and then thought you were at some point. A couple of losses in a row to Merab, and everybody knows Merab's a machine. This is his chance finally back in the ring with a stand-up fighter. O'Malley's always been a sniper. He's always been one of those guys that, loves to throw that power left, power right. The pressure's on for O'Malley, and I almost feel bad for him because this is kind of one of those situations where impressive knockout, or everyone's going to be like, oh man, he guess he really wasn't that good. He went to a decision with Song Yadong. Song's good, but he's not. I mean, O'Malley's supposed to be the man. So, like, this is an opportunity for O'Malley to kind of say, like, oh yeah, I am the man still, and everything that you thought or used to think is still true. So I look for Sean O'Malley to be the man. I look for him to go out there and find Song's chin, and Sugar Show comes back on Saturday night. Leading up to the main event of the evening, we have a lightweight interim title bout between one of my personal favorite fighters of all time, Justin the Highlight Gaethje, taking on Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. This is definitely a weird, interesting fight, and what do you guys think about this one?
Well, I think for me, I think Paddy. I think I want to see Paddy not look exposable in this one, but I mean that's gonna be hard to say because it's Gaethje. But if he does look exposable, and if he does, I want to see him like he does in every single one of his fights so far, and I want to see him get out of it. There's no better way to prove that you are the best and that you're top tier of this division than to, be put under danger or stress of Gaethje and then punch your way out or fight your way out and come out on the other side. I would love to see that. I'd like to see that. Watching Paddy fight's fun, man. He always brings a good show, and that's probably why Gaethje wants to duke it out with him. I think it's good for Gaethje to want to fight a guy like Paddy. Now, I'm not saying that like Paddy's below fighting him, like not worthy of it, but there's nothing on Gaethje that he has to give into this fight, for his career or anything. Like, he doesn't owe anything to UFC or Paddy, but he wants a good fight, and if Paddy wants to make it to that top tier upper echelon for his career, these are the fights he's got to win. You got Gaethje at I wouldn't say the twilight of his career, going out, but we're not talking about Gaethje of 5 years ago. We're talking about Gaethje retiring within 5 years. This ain't the same Gaethje.
Unfortunately, you do happen to be correct. Obviously, I think it all kind of stems back to UFC 300 when he fought Max Holloway, and obviously the way that fight finished in the last-second knockout, which is probably the most badass thing I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. It's cool. It's a weird feeling when you're screaming at the top of your lungs while one of your favorite fighters is face down in the octagon, but that moment will forever live in my brain. I think this fight's really interesting, man. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, man. Patty's a fun fighter. I've been a fan of Patty. I watched him over when he was in Europe fighting. Um, I forget which organization, but one of them over there always had those orange shorts and the silly hair. He came over to the UFC and kind of became a star really, really quickly. Jared Gordon fight that'll forever be in debate. Um, I think he's a good fighter, and I think he's a good test for Gaethje. Gaethje obviously, had that fight with Holloway sandwiched in between two fights against Rafael Fiziev. He looked okay, good, but not great against Fiziev. I think a big thing to kind of keep in mind here is that it is a 5-round fight because it's a title fight, and Paddy has way less experience in these 5-round fights as opposed to Gaethje, who has fought for the title, multiple times. Then you also look at the age. Gaethje's 37, Paddy's 30, 31. UFC is a sport where most of the times the younger guy, does win. I think that this is one of those situations for the UFC where there's a ton of Gaethje fans. I mean, obviously, the guy's nickname is the Highlight. He has 13 UFC fights, and he has 14 performance bonuses. If that doesn't make sense to you, we're in the same category. Dude just puts out good fights. Dude just fights hard, and he gets hit, and he hits harder. Patty's a guy that I really think that more so than Gaethje, because we know who Gaethje is, I think this fight's going to teach us and tell us a lot about Paddy Pimblett, and I'm excited for it. Hopefully it's a war. Personally, as much as I love fights getting finished, I really want to see 5 rounds out of these guys and let the better man win. So this is a fun card, and it's a really fun finish to the first UFC card on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this one. The first fight on Paramount Plus. Hey, you just gotta grab a subscription. No, paying $80 or looking up any of those particular sites where we used to browse and find these fights for free. So I can't wait. And then hopefully they said they might put some of these events on CBS as well. So it's looking like a bright future for UFC. Changing networks. So we shall see how this one goes. We are over time, guys, but great episode. A lot of things we got covered here. Sideline Brief Podcast, episode 211. We will see you guys next week. Enjoy the championship games in the NFL, and we will see you next week. Peace.